Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'll give a few more seconds for some folks to roll in, but looking forward to getting started here. Normally, I have a guest who I'm talking to and interacting with, but today you're just getting me, so you're welcome. And I apologize at the same time. So looking forward to this, and let me go ahead and share my screen. We'll jump right in. Got a lot to cover today. Quite a few folks are rolling in, so I'm looking forward to covering intake and helping you guys make some money and keep more of that money through optimizing intake. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. So when we talk about intake, some folks in the legal space, law firm owners, don't like to use the term sales because it sounds salesy. But when you look at intake for what it is, it's a sales team. It's a sales process and a sales system. So looking forward to going through that with you today. We're going to cover quite a bit, some high level stuff, and then get into some details as well on AI and how you can use AI to help optimize your intake. So when we're looking today, we're looking to help increase your close rate. We are looking to help improve your marketing ROI, reduce your acquisition cost per client. So if you spend less money to get more clients, that's the best thing for you. And then make and keep more of your money. So let me go ahead and get to this next slide. But before I do that, I also want to make sure um, if you guys have questions, use the Q&A. I'll keep an eye on that. Again, I usually have some folks with me that I'm working with during this. So if I miss it, I'll try to get to the questions as we go through it, so it's a little more interactive. But if you have questions, we'll have some time at the end as well, and then use the chat function as well. So I'll do my best to keep an eye on that as we go. So agenda for today, what we're looking at, what are our objectives? We're going to jump into that. Systems, workflows, and scripts when it comes to intake. Utilizing your tech stack, and I'll talk about what a tech stack is and what that looks like for an intake team or an intake system. And then managing your sales team. There's that word again, sales. Um, let's see. So I've got some folks that just chatted in to see if can y'all hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up if y'all can hear me in the chat. Slowly rolling in. Cool. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. Um, so again, that word sales, it's a sales team. That is what it is. You're selling your services. We're going to look at some data, metrics, reporting. You can't improve close rate if you don't know what your numbers are, if you don't know what your close rate is. So sounds so simple. It's like the IT person's asking you if it's plugged in or not, right? You need to know what those numbers are in order to improve them. And then we're going to talk a few ways to start using AI in your systems and processes. So objectives for today, we're going to talk about how to improve your close rate. What would that mean for your law firm, for your business, if you closed 10% more of those potential clients? A lot of times we talk about, you hear firms and folks say, oh, we need more leads. The leads that we have aren't good. The potential clients just aren't that great. We need more of them. But I've been in the call center world. I've been in the legal marketing space. Answering the phones is a difficulty. So things along those lines, you have the potential clients typically. If you can close, sign more, get more retainers from the existing potential clients you have, what would that mean for your law firm? Just a 10% bump in close rate can make a world of difference for a law firm. So we're going to talk about the KPIs and management systems. How do you manage those people that are on the front lines talking to PNCs, potential new clients? And then again, it's not a matter of getting more leads, but doing more with the ones you have. Increasing your return on investment. So we all know legal marketing is super expensive. Highest dollars per click, cost per click. The SEO world is not only saturated but very aggressive, very competitive. There's coaching, there's all kinds of things out there to help you get better at marketing and help you get your word out there. And you're spending a lot of money and time. So you want to get that best return on your investment. Again, you increase your close rate, you get more clients from the existing ones you have, you're going to have a better return on investment. Ultimately, over time, if you can possibly get to where you're spending less on marketing because you're focused on what works and what has worked, you're going to be in a better situation. Utilizing technology, obviously, that's the buzzword. AI, everybody's getting into it, how to automate, how to do more with less. And then there's so many different case management systems out there, intake software, what's best for you guys. So really identifying what's best for your firm and not just listening and watching the demo from the salesperson and getting excited about all the bells and whistles, all the features, and all the things that you may or may not even need. What's best for you and how do you utilize that? And then how do you manage your team? We've got that awesome photo, everybody high-fiving. We all want that in our team, right? So how do you manage that group? You have the team, you have people in place. How do you know you have the right people in place? And then how do you incentivize the right action and the right activities? So we're going to jump right into systems, workflows, and scripts. So kind of a quick overview. Webster's defines these as kind of a thing here. Systems are a comprehensive and integrative set of tools used to facilitate the intake workflow. So when we talk about a system, it's more of the how, or excuse me, it's more of the what. Got ahead of myself. It's more of the what. What are you using for your technology? What are you using for the people, the resources that you have? What does that system look like? Someone calls your firm. How are they contacting you? It's as basic as that. And then the workflows, those are going to be step-by-step processes or sequences of actions taken to manage new potential clients. So you're going to have multiple workflows. On the system side, you might have a handful of systems, one or two. Um, Really, the workflows is you have a new personal injury PNC. How do they go through the process? How do they go through being handed from reception to an intake person or paralegal or legal assistant? And then how do they get to, contract or retainer agreement? Script, that's sometimes, again, kind of like sales, it may have a bad connotation, or some of you might say, I don't like scripts. I don't want to be robotic. I don't want a bunch of robots. I want empathetic people talking to my PNCs, talking to my clients. That's correct if you use scripts incorrectly. So a script is not just a written, I'm going to follow it word by word. It's more of a pre-written guide instead of instructions. So when I say scripts, I'm talking about, yes, the questions you'll ask on the phone, the questions you'll ask in a chat or things along those lines, but it's also the email template. It's the letter of non-engagement. So the rejection letter. It's templates. It's guides and things that you can use and your team can use to create consistency across all of your team members. So we'll get into those here in a second. So we'll start with systems. So when we talk about systems, we have people, right? The people that are doing the work, that are involved in the day-to-day activities. You want to have clearly defined roles. So we all have different size businesses, different size law firms. You may only have a handful of people, or you may have a huge team, huge being, 3 or 4 people. That's still pretty big. You need to clearly defined roles. If you have a paralegal that's doing intake for you, that's fine. You need that. They may need to wear multiple hats. But when they're wearing that intake hat, what is their role? They are there to gather information and do pre-qualification. The next step is closers, right? You may want your legal assistant. You may have somebody in your firm that does the closing part of it. They set the consult. They set the initial free consultation. That's the first part of it. but they need a very specific and clearly defined role. Some folks will have the paralegal, excuse me, or the legal assistant handle that prequal and then hand it off to one of the attorneys. If the attorneys are closers, salespeople as well, that's great. So they're going to do some further qualification. But again, they need to know your role when you have this person on the phone or this PNC in front of you is to do X. It's to close the consult, set the appointment. So that clarity that they have in what they're doing is very important to the system. So the next part is, and we'll get into some more details on how that, like metrics and KPIs along those lines. Again, leadership management. You might have somebody that's in charge of the intake group. So what's their role? Are they reviewing PNCs that come in? Are they making sure that, the team is being trained? Is it their job to make sure that the people on the phones know what they're doing? Again, it's a very clearly defined role, almost as if you're hiring these positions. They should have job descriptions specifically for this system. Clearly defined objectives. You want to know, you want to be clear on what you want to incentivize. So there's a lot of times where you might go to a call center and they say, "Oh, I talked to 50 PNCs today. Awesome, check the box." Well, if your goal is to talk to more people, then that person may rush to get off the phone to get to the next one. You want to incentivize what's best for your firm. If you have a very high volume, and you need to incentivize, okay, talk time is 4 minutes. All good. Try not to exceed 4 minutes. I don't recommend that, but it depends on your firm. I say that meaning, you talk about Zappos. If you've ever come across Zappos customer service, they don't have a talk time. They didn't have a talk time limit or a goal. They wanted to incentivize making the customer happy. So if you want to incentivize consults, then track that. Those are the objectives. Intake specialist, your goal is to gather info, pre-qual, and then set that consult for one of our closers. And then establish KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators, metrics to basically judge performance. Many of you guys use maybe OKRs, objective, I forgot what OKR stands for, but KPIs is what I use, key performance indicators, and we'll talk more about those in a little bit. Systems technology. All right. So within the system, you have to use tech. Back in the good old days, it was, an Excel spreadsheet. And before that, it was probably handwritten notes, right? So CRM, which is customer relationship management, CMS I've got is case management software or an intake software. So majority of firms now making the change to digital. It's still happening, surprisingly, but you've got Clio, Filevine, even Filevine bought Lead Docket, all those different types of software. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to utilize those. But you have to, in my opinion, you have to have a CRM, even if it's on Excel spreadsheets. If you don't have some hub where you put all of your contact information and all of your correspondence, you're missing out. So have something, and we'll talk more about making that your hub and almost your Bible. Everything needs to go into that CRM, make that commitment. So determine, I'd said it before, you may not need a Filevine that has all these bells and whistles. You might just need Zoho. Zoho used to be a free CRM. It's simple. You might just need HubSpot. There's some simple ones out there that are affordable and still very, very powerful. But you need to define what it is your firm needs, volume wise, and capabilities wise. But you have to have some kind of a CRM. Communication tools. So obviously phones, you look at Ring Central so that you have individual phone lines per person. It's digital. You can access them anywhere. email sounds so simple, but you've got Google Business. Do you use Google Groups? Do you use distribution lists? Do you use that type of a thing where you have one intake distribution list, one inbox to where everybody can look at it? And I'll show you a little bit more about that. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. SMS and chat. So my background as well. SMS, I personally don't answer the phone very often because of all the spam calls. And I get text messages for confirmations, and I'm sure a lot of y'all are the same way. If you reach out to a firm or a business and they text you, you're more likely to respond and answer and see that correspondence. So I highly advise looking at a lot of the CRMs now, or the case management software has some kind of texting ability, and not just the inbound text where it's more pre-qual leads. It's more about the correspondence between potential clients and actual clients. So look into that. I've got some recommendations that I can share later if needed, but be able to text potential clients and clients as well. And then shared drives, you want to have a system where people can access training guides, scripts, information, not just sitting in someone's computer, and not just, oh, that's in my email, let me go grab that. You want to start building a system where other people, even if you have just one person doing it now, as you grow and scale, you're going to need a second person. Well, it doesn't help to have all the information in one person's computer or laptop. You need to have a shared drive. All of these have business options. And again, a lot of the CRMs also have some document management systems. So look into, Google Drive, Dropbox for business, OneDrive, and SharePoint on the Microsoft side. Overall system, you need to define an ideal client and an ideal case. And so what does that look like? When you define case criteria, I'm just going to use personal injury as an example. You've got geographic, obviously, where you want to handle cases or where you can handle cases based on where you're licensed. Statute of limitations, maybe you want to put that in there as well, depending on the state. You will do conflict checks, I'm sure. So having that pre-qualification criteria, were they at fault? Yes or no? Do they have insurance? Does the opposing party have insurance? Yes or no? What injuries were sustained? Were there injuries sustained at all? Did they seek medical treatment? So some of those, there's a lot of gray. I've seen so many different potential client calls and chats that, were you injured? No, not really. It was a broken leg. So everybody's kind of subjective on their own definition of what an injury might be. But did they have injuries? Yes. Check. Were they at fault? No. Check. Move them along. So you want to have that defined and very clear. Was there a commercial vehicle involved? Yes. Okay, that's another kind of criteria we'll talk about later to escalate. That might be a higher end case. Was it a death involved? Things along those lines. So have that basic broad criteria preset. And I would do this per practice area. And even if you want to get down into case types, when you have these defined, it's okay to document them. And I say it's okay, meaning you need to document them. Have it documented somewhere in your shared drive, in your training docs. There's some things I can recommend, like Trainual is a great training app, but I can provide some of those after if needed. Have it documented. These are the kinds of cases we want. And when we see these things happen, or these things in a case, a potential case, this is what needs to happen. And they need to get escalated or triggered into this next section. So from a system, you need to define that criteria for an ideal case. If you have family law, criminal defense, and PI, you're going to do those, separately as well. Defining client criteria, this may not be as heavily, I guess, looked upon on the contingency side, like PI, but we've all had those red flags when we talk to a potential client, and there's just a little bit of crazy maybe, or there's something that's just off. You don't have to take everybody that walks in the door, right? So you do have some say in the matter. It's hard to just say like if they're crazy, send them away. Maybe you don't want to do that, but have something in there. What's an ideal client? This is definitely more on the B2B or even the B2C like model of sales and digital sales. What's your ideal client profile? So if the case is all you care about, that's cool. Put that criteria in there. But again, maybe even the demographic side, if you're a estate planning or something along those lines where it's more of they do need some kind of ability to pay, is there a level you want to look at, or the family law side? Maybe it's going to be a high end divorce. Is there an ability to pay, a willingness to pay for that retainer? And then languages, of course, if you don't have any Spanish speaking opportunities or legal assistants, paralegals, attorneys, you may not be able to take on Spanish speaking clients. All right, so that's systems. That's the what. That's you're going to use technology. You're going to use the resources, the people that you have in order to handle those inbound, potential clients. When we look at the workflows, these are just a few that I put together examples, but I don't have a diagram or a flow chart, but I would highly advise putting one of those together, and we can talk about that later if needed. But inbound communication handling, this is something that I saw over the years and I've seen with clients now. It's amazing how many firms and how many businesses have inbound channels of potential clients and leads going to different places. And what I mean by that is someone goes to your website and fills out a form that gets sent to an email distribution group. Cool. Or maybe five or six people. You have someone that calls, the receptionist sends it to one person. They have, I always send the PNCs to this person. Great. A chat lead comes through, an email goes to a different email group. I would highly advise getting one shared inbox. You can do this through Microsoft. If you use that, you can do it through Google Groups. But a shared inbox is a little bit different from a distribution list. Distribution list just gets sprayed to that group. A shared inbox is everybody looks in that inbox at one time. I can see if I'm a team of five, I can see that somebody else has read it and they did a little check mark next to it. That one's been handled. As opposed to a distribution list where it just comes into my own email inbox and I assume somebody else took it or I just don't know. So get a shared inbox intake, um, maybe not sales, but start with intake at da da da. That way, when you have a shared inbox, each team member that has access to it can check the little flag, mark it complete, handled, and even Google Groups, I think, does individual assignments. So you can assign a person to it, which is kind of cool as well. But have all of your channels, all of your phone calls, um, emails, like form fills, text, all those leads, all those sources need to come into that one place. Um, Rejection process. So jumping ahead a little bit, but rejection process, you want to have that workflow of communication. Okay, if they don't meet that criteria, what does that look like communication wise? What's that next trigger? They didn't meet it, so your team sends an email to them. There's a lot of firms I've worked with that have the non-engagement letters that they mail out as well. I kind of like that. It's a little bit of an extra step, a little bit extra cost. But if you don't have a whole lot of volume, it kind of doesn't make sense to not do it because it's an opportunity. If you're driving somebody that they found you online somehow, maybe they're in your neighborhood or not neighborhood, but geographic region, they may need your services in the future. Their case now might not be something you want to take on, but you want to leave a good feeling, even if you weren't able to help them. A letter can do that. It can still be professional. It can still be something memorable. So it's also a good CYA as well, to let them know that you're not able to handle their case. Update CRM, update the case management software. There are some things you can do on the tech side to make it required. You have to update the stage of where that potential client is, meaning if they're rejected, you need to mark that rejected. And the biggest thing is the reason why they're rejected, meaning they maybe they're out of statute. Okay. No injuries. Okay. They never responded to you. You tried calling them, emailing them, didn't respond. You're going to want to know that because that's where you're going to know if your marketing is working or if your sales team, your intake team is not working. You have 100 PNCs and you only sign 20 cases, 20% close rate. Well, man, 30 of them we just didn't get a hold of. That doesn't mean someone's phone doesn't work. It means that your efforts need to be tweaked, right? You need to figure out a different way to contact those PNCs to get that answer rate higher. And then I think at the end of the day, you can mail and scan those letters. Similar again, workflow. It's almost like a checklist. So you've got end of the day, you rejected 7 or 8 PNCs, 8 letters are going out. They're getting scanned into a folder into that shared drive as well. I mentioned this before, but escalation. I've seen a few firms do this, and I really like the idea. Um, if you've got, let's say, again, PI, commercial vehicle, or a death case potentially, there's a couple of things that I've seen some firms do that one, it's the info gathering is almost it's shortened. You don't want to spend as much time on there. You want to get them in front of a closer. You want to get them on the phone with one of the lawyers or whatever that system is that we talked about. Whoever's closing them, consult setting, all that. You want to get that as fast as possible. Another thing is communicating with either management or partners. If you're the partner of a firm, you don't want to have updates on every single PNC potentially, but hey, I want to know if there's a trucking case. I want to know if there's a death case that comes through, and I want an update on it. One, to make sure, hey, did anybody call that one? Yes. Okay. Hey, this person got them. They're set for a consult with so and so. Awesome. Just want to make sure I know about that one. So it's just that communication as a team. And I think there's some different triggers. Again, all these workflows have triggers, meaning something happens, it triggers the next action. Commercial vehicle, trigger, boom, do these things. So think of it as automation, even though our humans, our people are doing the actual work. They're doing the activity. Um, Another workflow is follow up and cadence. This is going to be different for each firm potentially. One thing that a lot of folks, I don't want to say forget, but they think, you know what, I don't want to bother these people. I don't want to hammer them. If I call today and they don't answer the phone, all good, I'll try tomorrow. They're busy. So I get that. But in the end, they contacted you. You're not harming anybody by contacting them a few times or trying to contact them a few times because you know what? They're on to the next firm trying to call the next firm for help. So at a minimum, phone call, email, and again, SMS, texting. Use something to text at a minimum once a day. If they don't answer the phone, they fill out a form, you call them back. They don't answer, voicemail, send an email, send a text. Next day, same thing. Maybe even twice that day. I would recommend 3 days, maybe 4 or 5. But this is the next step is after that sequence is done, they're rejected. They're not going to be on a list where it's just going to get stagnant. I've seen that happen way too often is you look up and you go, oh, we have 50 potential clients that are kind of in the mix. Well, that one's a month old. That one's 3 weeks old. That one was, 2 months old. What's happening with those? You don't want those cluttering your reports, your data, and your focus. So have that set process. And if you do those things, then send them, to another part. They're going to be in your marketing, going to be in your list. Um, so sorry, there's a question here that came in. Curious to know, in your experience, how many different firms does a potential client typically reach out to? That seems unlikely that they are doing full intakes with multiple firms. That's a good question. I think it's going to depend on the practice area, but from a PI standpoint, which I've seen, it's honestly it's the folks that answer the phone and spend the time doing that intake. So if they're not able to get a hold of somebody quickly, then they're on to the next one that will give them that attention. So to answer that question, I don't think there's a set number like three, four, five. To me, it's whoever gets in front of that person and has their attention and has their time and does the activity. If you get their information and you say, okay, someone will call you back in an hour to set a consult, they're gone. So it's spending that time. It's a really good point. They're not going to spend 30 minutes with so many different firms. They're going to be kind of engaged with you guys and engaged with the firm that provides that time. They're going to be invested. They put that time in. So great question. For me, the answer is just be available and be responsive. And we'll talk about some, the systems. I don't think I put it in there, but have a backup receptionist, have overflow. If you don't pick up the phone, it needs to go to a call center. It needs to go to alert communications. It needs to go to someone like that can answer the phone, do the either the pre-qual or the full intake, but have that contingency backup. So hope that answers the question. As far as the workflows kind of visualization, I personally love a good whiteboard and I love, bubbles and maps and all that good stuff. I use draw.io for some of these things. That's a free option. So on the customer journey, you might hear it called customer journey. Put yourself in the shoes of a potential client calling your firm or reaching out to your firm. One, they don't do that very often because they don't need lawyers every day. So they're already intimidated. They're already kind of like, I've never done this before. You do it all day long. So you're like, well, yeah, just give me this information. We'll do this and that. They don't know that stuff. So put yourself in their shoes, map out that journey. Okay, contacted firm. What happens next? When you use ChatGPT to outline it, what I mean is just that it's just text. So let's build a workflow for when a personal injury potential client contacts my firm. Initial contact, info gathering, contact information, conflict check, pre-qualification. Again, the visual here is going to be like a decision tree. If they don't meet that pre-qual criteria, this is the rejection process. It goes into this flow. If they meet that process, it goes over here. And again, it's going to depend on your firm and your business. Do you want that in the hands of a lawyer to do further qualification and then close? Or do you want to just have that all within the intake team? If you have clear criteria that they meet, boom, empower that person to set a consult, empower that person to send a retainer agreement. It really depends on the practice area and the criteria that you're willing to take on. But I would advise using one of these different apps, if you will. Visio is Microsoft. I've tried using ChatGPT to do some visuals, and it's all over the place. So I wouldn't advise that. But the outline of the text part of it, I would do that. All right. So I didn't jump in and talk about me. I love this cool AI generated image, if you can't tell. Um, But who am I to talk about intake? Why am I even talking about this? And why should you listen to me? So, I'm the co-founder of Client Chat Live. We provided live chat service and software to over 600 law firms throughout the US and Canada. And live chat, when we started back in 2010 or 8, was can I get your name, phone number, and email, and I'll pass it to the law firm. It changed over time. We sold the business in 21 to the parent company of Alert Communications. They do great work for law firms across the country on the voice side, but ultimately it started coming up to not just contact info, but case details. Hey, can you help identify and do some pre-qualification within chat? So we continue to add more value, identify case facts, things like that that we were gathering, and then making a decision. Okay, you're not in this geographic area. Okay, this isn't something the firm can handle. Or it was just gathering more information. So we worked with quite a few firms. As an operations and efficiency specialist, for me, I grew that seven. It was a seven-figure business with only a handful of people full time, and a lot of other contractors and groups of folks and folks that I trusted. But we had a lot of automation. So it was more about efficiency. It was more about the operational automation. Currently, I'm a fractional COO for law firm owners and for law firms. So you've got people that want to be lawyers and some that want to be a CEO of their firm. Many firm owners want to be lawyers, and they're looking at how to scale a business, how to run a business. And I help firms with that now. So prior to that, I was oil and gas, supply chain, steel manufacturing overseas in Dubai for a $30 million business. So I've seen the entrepreneurship starting from nothing to the corporate side of it. And for me, I put this little line here. I don't like work for work's sake. I really believe that every action should have a purpose. So again, going back to if you just want to talk about how many PNCs you talk to, I talked to 50. Okay, what'd you get out of that? Well, I talked to 50. It was great. It was a great day. I talked to a lot of people. Okay, you want clients. So let's figure out the best way to use your energy and your time to get more focused on what it is that you want to achieve for your business. So a little bit about me. I'm going to jump back in. What's your tech stack? So some of these awesome logos, some of these you may use already. Tech stack is really just the group of software, the group of technology that you use in your systems, in your day-to-day business. So a couple of examples here that hopefully y'all use. If not, highly advise you to use is Zapier, not Zapier, but Zapier. And again, it will connect a DocuSign to a Salesforce. It will connect a Google Sheet to Slack or Teams. So it's a connector of software. You don't have to be a coder. You don't have to be a developer. It's a very cool, very powerful automation tool. You can connect four different softwares at once with one Zap that you build, and it's pretty intuitive. So they have free versions and then some paid versions, but I would highly recommend using Zapier. But we're going to talk a little bit about what your tech stack is and how to really utilize it for intake. I'm going to harp on this, and I'm just going to call it a CRM. I know case management software is a term a lot of people use, but is your CRM your information hub? Every single contact, lead, case, email correspondence, phone call, document, all of it ideally should be in your CRM. It should be in your Clio. It should be in your Filevine. All the interactions, all the lead sources, all the data that you need should be in your CRM. These things are powerful engines of collecting data, but then once you have that data in there, you're going to be able to mine it and pull it out. So I'll get to that in a second. What do you have buy-in? This is huge. I've worked in businesses where you've got a few folks that just hold on to their old ideals and technology, and it's like, well, I only put the commercial vehicle cases into Filevine. I don't put the other ones in there. I only put the good PNCs into Clio. The other ones, I don't really update it. Every single action needs to be updated. So you need to get buy-in, and honestly, it starts from the top. So if you're a managing partner, firm owner, or a leader, and you don't believe you have, the best tool, the best system, people are going to realize that. I had to tell, some people, hey, we're using HubSpot to do everything, and this person is doing it in this way, and this person is doing this part of it. These are the roles. This other person could have taken 30 seconds to fix something, and this person could have taken a minute to fix something. But This person over here doing it would have created confusion, and it would have created, hey, maybe sometimes they do it, maybe sometimes I do it. Clearly defined rules, and we'll talk about that too. But having buy-in, every contact, every lead, every referral partner, every expert, all of it should be in your CRM. I would say if it's not in the CRM, it didn't happen. So cumbersome sometimes to update things. And I don't know of one yet, but there's some new AI things that can grab correspondence and update it. HubSpot, you just CC or blind copy an email address. It'll automatically add it. Salesforce, Solidify, same thing. I'm sure Filevine's the same way. But if it didn't go into the CRM, it didn't happen. So establish clear guidelines and rules. Um, let's talk about what it should look like. When you break down your CRM, and again, the reason I'm talking about this is because if you don't have the data and you don't have clean information, your close rate is going to be, you're not going to be able to increase it because you don't know what it is. If you don't have clean information on the referrals that you got from one referral partner, how do you know who gave you the most referrals? How do you know who to thank? How do you know where to put your marketing budget if you don't know where leads, where potential clients came from consistently? Um, I did work with one business, and in the Salesforce instance, they had a lot of leads for sales. And the reason that they lost those leads, they didn't become clients. They just said closed dead. And I said, what does closed dead mean? 80% of them are closed dead. And they said, oh, well, they just didn't contact us back. We couldn't get a hold of them. And it was mind boggling to me because that means 80% of the time we just did a bad job of contacting them and reaching out. But it gave us no information about, did they go to a competitor? Did they go, did they not even need the service? Was there another reason they didn't sign or didn't contact us? To me, it was just a throw it to the side and let's move on to the next one. So when you look at breaking down your CRM, it's going to depend on what you have, right? You've got Clio, you've got Fileline. They have their different verbiage and terminology. But when you look at contacts, this is the people. So your potential new clients, your actual clients, so their contact information, email address, um, those types of things, actual address. Your referral partners. This could be an individual person. This could be a law firm. Again, if you're doing, if you're in a state like Texas, maybe not Colorado, but if you're in Texas and you need to pay out a referral fee, this is where the information is going to be to where okay, this person gave me the referral. This is where the referral fee needs to go when the case is settled and funded. Um, it's also where you're going to do your conflict checks. So I put email subs there. If you have a system that can do marketing too, like a HubSpot, your email subscribers can go there for like a newsletter and things like that. Intakes and cases. So an intake is not just the person, but that case, their potential case, the facts, the information, the data. You could have one PNC that has 4 different intakes because they've called you 4 different times for different situations. You've got your active cases, your closed cases. I would have stages of those cases as well. So in progress, settled, closed, rejected. And I put down here on both intakes and contacts the source of the case and source of the contact. Again, going back to your ROI, the marketing money, your dollars you're spending. If you get 100 potential clients over a certain time frame and 80 came from Google ads and 10 came from an offline event, maybe something you did in the community, and 10 came from Google or referrals, you're getting a lot of your leads and potential in your cases from Google ads. So you either double down there or you look to build up other areas and continue doing what you're doing. But you have to know where people are coming from. And there's so many different ways, not just asking them. They're going to tell you a billboard, radio, whatever. Um, there are digital tracking, digital ways, a Google Click ID. Ask your marketing folks, but there's ways to track that. Use CallRail if you're not using CallRail. That way you can track phone calls back to actual digital activity. But you need to know the source of of where the case came from and where the contact came from. Um, Reports and data. So when you're looking at pulling information out so that you can analyze and really identify where you want to put your money, where you want to put your time and attention. Uh, this is where you're going to get it from your CRM. Number of active cases, intakes, financial data potentially, and then your sources and intakes by by person. So if you have multiple people, you're going to want to know who's closing more. If you're sending all your PNCs to two different lawyers after they're pre-qualified, and one is closing 50% and one's closing 25%, you're gonna want to figure out why. It could just be the person's better, but it's a training opportunity. And then all communications. I've got the information in visual there, but any email, any phone call, a lot of times they're recorded calls. I'm not sure if those can be in there or not, state by state potentially, but any correspondence, any document should be in that CRM, in that case management system. Um, some advice, and I'll kind of skim through this because I know we want to get to some AI stuff, but your PNC and case source, do not use free text fields. What I mean by that is do not just say the person can type in Google. They're going to do a capital G, sometimes a lowercase g, sometimes they'll use one O by accident. It has to be a drop down and it has to be controlled by an admin. People can't just add a new source. What you're going to find if you have 20 different sources, you're not going to have enough data. It's going to be spread across too many things. So have general source drop downs. Referral. When you go to look at a subsource here, Google paid is not going to have a subsource. That's just going to be the source. Google ads, LSAs, boom, Facebook ads. That's the source. But when you look at referral, you want to know who the actual referral partner is or the referring attorney or non-attorney is. John Smith. Okay. Um, that's important. You want to have those as drop downs. And a lot of times your case management, your intake software will help you organize that. It'll have rules. It will kind of force that. You won't be able to just do free text. But I also would recommend making it required. So if you have any new potential client, a new intake, it has to have some kind of a source. The person can't finish and close it out until it's added. And then separate communication channels as well. This is different from source. Again, I've seen Salesforce instances with lead source website, and it's like the website is not a source. It's the channel of communication. So they called you, they had a live chat. Offline means like a networking event or maybe a happy hour or something you put on a CLE, something like that. But communication channel, how they contact you is different from where they came from. All right. When we talk about managing your team, managing your people, I break this down into a core three KPIs, three key performance indicators. So why three? If you go four, five, six, the focus is going to be kind of all over the place. We've all done jobs where we could have 10 different metrics that we measure our performance on. Maximum three. I've done two and at even times one for new people, but maximum of three. And I'll show you some examples of what I think some KPIs can be, but it helps them prioritize, it helps them gain clarity on what it is they're doing each day. We want results, we don't want activity. So, where should I focus my energy as an employee, as a team member? How do they get set? Again, be careful on what you incentivize. Do you incentivize activity or you want results? Do you want them to generate more of X? Do you want them to reduce X? You want to reduce cost or do you want to increase clients? If they increase X, will that lead to Y? So that's a little ambiguous, but it's mainly about what you're incentivizing. And then who should have these KPIs? Everyone. Every single person, every role should have KPIs. Um, if you're in leadership or management, those three KPIs could be their overall metrics so that you can lead your team. They are department specific, but they're not just, hey, let's get more clients. They do lead up to company goals. So if your firm doesn't have overall company or firm goals, um, then if you don't have firm goals, then it's hard to kind of trickle that down to say, what is this person doing to affect those overall company goals? And when we get into that, and Adam, I appreciate that comment on, he said, activity does drive results. So you do need to manage both 100%. And I'll get into that in 1 second. But when we look at clarity on what it is I'm doing, what it is I'm affecting each day, on the bigger picture to help the company, help the firm, those need to be clarified and set. So when you look at um, an example of a monthly target overall team, new client signed 25. I want my average response time, my initial callback or first touch to be less than 15 minutes. And then consultation set 50. I made those no I came up with those numbers. The 25 is arbitrary, of course, but the 50 is based on a close rate. If I can close 50% of my consults, and I want 25 clients, then I need 50 consults. Um, you're gonna play with some of these, but set them initially, and play with them over time, to basically get to where you want to go, where your company wants to go, and your firm wants to go. An example for an individual team member, I just took the closers. Again, this is easier on the sales side, but new client signed, I need 8 new clients signed. I need a close rate of over 50%, and I need to set 16 consults. And to Adam's point on activity drives results, 100%. If we want to sign 8 clients, that's the end goal we want. What are those activities we need to do to set those? Those are going to be the follow-ups, the callbacks, did the text messages go out? Did I go and get new, as a closer? Did I talk to everybody I could in that time frame? Did I call people back within 15 minutes? That activity is measured, as well, but we all want to focus on the clarity of the goals. Um, each week, meet with your team members, direct reports, not every single team member, but direct reports. Go through the previous action items from the week before, and then go through those core three. If your employee or team member knows their core three, they're reporting it to you. Hey, I'm good on client signed. I've got 6. I should be able to get 8 this month if the leads keep coming through the way they have been. All good. That's green. If it's red, hey, what do we need? I need more leads, or I need this, or I need that. Let's talk about it and come up with action plans in that meeting. But this is a one-on-one to help them, to give them time to voice concerns or opportunities to you on how to improve. All right. I know I'm rushing through. Let's talk about some AI. I like tacos, so let's throw that out there. When we want to create, I use AI. I'm just going to go through ChatGPT, and I'm going to share my screen here in a second. But creating intake scripts and templates, you can use it to create intake workflows and then analyze data and reports. I'm not going to go through individual, hey, this app is so cool. I will say, to kind of throw this out there, I think in the next 12 months or less, there will be a lot of opportunity to use AI agents on voice, on phones, on website chat. It's crazy how fast some of these things are moving. So let me go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing this part, and I'm going to jump into my chat GPT. Okay. Throw me a thumbs up if you can see the chat GPT screen here. Sweet. All right. Um, when I look at, I'm gonna go ahead and do this live here in a second, but I wanted to create. I've got a script I've done. I want to create a script for my intake team, and I gave them a website. Um, it gave me some responses, and this is the thing with AI. You need to learn how to talk to it. Meaning, It's going to say I can't grab, go to browse the web. This is the paid version as well. It for whatever reason, sometimes it does that. So I gave it the website again. I said, go ahead and just browse this. It learns from doing that. So great. Where do they handle cases? It grabs it from their website. So if your website's updated, you should just be able to grab um, your website, your URL, and say, let's do a script for a personal injury case. So when we talk about scripts, these are not copy paste, but it's going to be a great start for you. Jump in here, ask for the script. It's going to give you some specifics. It'll help you understand the case. It will give you the questions that you want to ask. If you look here, you're gonna want to copy this and tweak it a little bit. But let me go ahead and just do one fresh here. State requalification. Now, again, I think when you have these scripts, when they're saved in a shared drive, when you use something like Trainual, you're going to have one, these are living documents that can change, but two, what do you think you're going to use to train people? The shadowing can help, listening in, but learning these role playing, um, you can use ChatGPT to role play. If you have the app, the ChatGPT app on your phone, you can talk back and forth with it. I don't think you can do that here on the desktop version, but use the app and talk back and forth with it. I didn't even know it had that until my kids started messing with it, which was hilarious. I'm like, who are you talking to? Like Chat GPT. Hilarious. So it's a great way to role play. You can tell it, let's role play. You're a potential new client to my firm. You can also build, if you haven't done this yet, create your own GPT. Give it your website, give it any documentation that you have. Do you have your own scripts already? Feed it into here, and it's amazing. It will take you about 30 minutes or so, and give it some training. Mess with it, give it feedback, mess with it again, feedback. If you want to create customized scripts, if you want to create customized templates, um, use this GPT creator. All right. Um, let's see if this will work. I was messing with this earlier. So I did ask it to create some data for me. I'm not sure why that's covering the screen there, but tell me the best place to spend my money. I don't think I can fill this in. I have a data set. So if I have the list of all my potential clients and where they're coming from, signed cases, and source. So it's going to tell me all these things, how I should do this, how I should track it, or how I could look at it. And then it's going to ask me if it wants to do analysis. Okay. That's the benefit of doing live demos. But I have plugged in Excel spreadsheets and have these conversations with it. Um, I would suggest building your own GPT. And as far as as far as that goes as well, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but I'd like to offer, if you want to contact me, 1 hour just one-on-one with you, helping build a GPT or helping you learn how to use ChatGPT. Promise it'll be a lot more concise and direct very helpful. I use it for myself. I've built a marketing associate. I've built a CMO, a CFO for my own business, and it's just a good way to have checks and balances. But you can throw in a lot of different data into ChatGPT and have it analyze and have it go through with you. But most importantly, it'll build those outlines. It'll build the workflows for you that you can then take and put into SOPs, standard operating procedures. So highly recommend getting into the paid version if you don't have that already. But hopefully this was helpful. Contact me. I'll put this here in the chat as well so that you have this information if you'd like to set up a time. Again, um, free 60 minutes. We'll go through. I can build a GPT for you if you'd like, or just talk about how to use ChatGPT. So if there's any questions, I think there's one or two that came in. With the SMS, do you comply with the new federal regulations where you need permission before sending text? So from my knowledge on the inbound, when they initiate the text to you, or when they reach out to you, you do need to have some kind of a consent, an electronic consent. If they uh, agree to receive information from you, usually that has that kind of verbiage in there on text, robocalls, things like that, that are pretty standardized. But if they reach out to you to initiate the contact and have that kind of consent, either through a form fill on your website, then yes, you do have permission to send texts. All right. I know we went over a little bit, but um, I appreciate you guys staying on with me if you sit on this long. Um, for me, the main takeaway is have a case management system, have a CRM, and buy into that. Put all the data in there, everything you can. That's where you're going to be able to analyze everything. That's where you're going to have the best opportunity to understand where your money's going and where you can continue to affect your business performance and improve. So if there's any other questions, feel free to email or call me. Throw that up here. Jay Cumberworth at actingexecutives.com. Or you can find me on the website as well. I'm also on LinkedIn quite a bit, but would love to help and hope you guys are found this useful. Thanks, everybody.